Hello, everybody. I'm Marco Beneteau. I'm the author of the most popular book of the practice of circling within the authentic healing tradition. And I'm here with Jason Diggs to talk about his upcoming course. It's called Authentic Relating in Community. And I've known Jason for a while. We've spent some time together in the movement. He's one of the most respected people in the field. And I'm not going to give you a whole list of his credits, but it's very impressive, trust me. And I'm here to ask him a little bit what this course is about and what you can expect to get from this course. So,
Yeah, thanks, Marco. Yeah, I've been training people in these practices for about 10 years now. And I like to tell the origin story of where these tools and where this body of knowledge came from, because I think it's a really unique one. There's a lot of things out there in the world that are, have one visionary leader and they bring something into the world that's very profound, like nonviolent communication is an example of this. Marshall Rosenberg. And authentic relating is not that. It's actually been created by 10 people or 100 people, depending on how you count it. It's really an open source, decentralized movement. A lot of the curriculum came directly from nonviolent communication, came directly from Gestalt psychology. It really is a synthesis, an integration of the best possible tools and communication techniques that we have to do what? To create nourishing and rich relationships, to get along as society and as communities. And that's the focus of my book. My book is called Conflict Equals Energy. So, and the thesis of the book is, okay, well, we don't actually have an emotional education, at least in America. It's starting, like you can see the seeds of this and what they're doing in elementary schools now, but definitely up until this point, we haven't had education around regulating our nervous system, around how to make requests, right? How to get our needs met in a relationship, how to understand subtle and social cues, right? These are the things that we naturally pick up or don't. And people who don't, suffer a lot, from social anxiety. My own story was, I found myself as a video producer, and for 10 years, I found that like somewhere around 15% of the projects that I had just totally went off the rails because of interpersonal conflict. And I was so disheartened by this and even ashamed of how poorly I showed up in conflict with other humans. And I'm probably even and if you look at like roommate situations, people living together in community houses or larger intentional communities with, 5 or 15 or more people together, the number of interpersonal dynamics and challenges and conflicts is very high. And I think that's why I'm really excited to bring this course specifically to the field of, eco-villages and intentional communities. And yeah, and I know that both of us have been playing in this realm in the last year.
yeah, cool. Uh, Thank you, Jason. I love that. So, you did mention authentic relating as sort of a decentralized, open source movement for personal and global transformation, possibly unlike anything else that's ever emerged in human history. I'm a big fan myself, as you know. And you mentioned nonviolent communication. I love nonviolent communication, by the way. It's very, very powerful.
Mhm.
But it is in some ways it's didactic, whereas authentic relating has both a didactic element, but it has a very, very strong experiential aspect as well, right? So could
Yeah.
you speak to that, and also sort of the importance of small group work and how that's going to work in the authentic relating and community course? Because
Right.
you're limited to 16 people, right?
Yeah, this is a highly experiential course in a sense that, I might teach a concept or a tool for 5 or 10 minutes, but then we'll spend 45 minutes as workshopping it as a community and sharing with one another. And this is really just the only way that I know that we can actually grow our emotional intelligence. It's just we need to practice it. We need to share. A lot of us are external processors. And what does this mean? It means we need to talk to actually regulate our emotions. We need to have a listener out there seeing and hearing us to regulate our emotions. So we do all of this in real time in the course. And that's why, I think emotional education, once we really learn what it is, it has to be experiential. We have to be with our peers. We have to have a chance to kick the tires and test the knowledge and ask questions and all of that. So all of the courses have always been designed this way. And I think it's one of the challenging aspects. Like, this movement has grown slowly over the last 10 years. There was never like this big inflection point where, like, I published a book and I've personally trained over 1,000 people in these courses, and I've trained leaders who have also trained, 1,000 people or so in these particular practices. But I don't think it'll ever like reach Oprah, because it's not a quick fix. It's not something that we can learn easily. Like, we have these relational wounds, we have these developmental traumas even that come about and are primarily set down between ages of 0 to 7. Like, our pattern for relationships primarily set into our nervous system when we're children. And we need to like work through these things with each other, and we need to create safety and know that someone's not going to run for the hills as soon as we are authentic or express displeasure or express anxiety, or it's like we need to create a strong group field and a strong container and create safety so that people can be authentic. And I think this is authentic relating is 2 words. Like, I'll just get into one of the teachings. It's a polarity in itself, right? This is not radical honesty. It's not like telling a truth bomb and walking away. It's telling our truth, being authentic, and checking in to see, how is that for you to hear, Marco? It's staying in relationship. And this is the only way that authenticity actually grows effective communities, is if we stay in relationship with each other when we're speaking our truth.
Beautiful. I love that. Cool. Well, anything else you'd like to tell people about the course? I mean, practically speaking, it's 6 weeks times 2 hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
We take up to 16 people. How are they going to be spending their time? Like, could you give them an example of a process, for instance, that?
Yeah. Like, there's a process on deeper listening. And so we'll be playing what we call the empathy game. And this just trains us in, basic reflective listening, but also deeper levels of listening. And then we'll be discussing and sharing with one another. So it'll be a lot of breakouts. The course is limited to 15 students. And so you'll get to know people in the cohort throughout the 6 weeks. And we'll be studying different topics each week. And, I talked about the origin of authentic relating and circling, but I think what a lot of people don't realize is like, it's a huge body of knowledge. Like I was studying it full time for 1.5 years before I started to teach and facilitate groups. And I was still studying from other mentors for years afterwards, and in a way, it's like a path of mastery to be able to hold our seat, hold our dignity, and behave with or listen with humility. So dignity and humility is one of the biggest teachings. To have both online in the face of conflict or tension with other people when there's high stakes. This is mastery level stuff. Like, you could literally spend the next 20 years learning about these practices. And because authentic relating does integrate nonviolent communication, Gestalt psychology, and many other modalities, and it draws, and it's a lot of it is updated too. Like, I think nonviolent communication is absolutely profound and genius, but it's also outdated. Like, the term nonviolence meant a heck of a lot in the 70s and 80s and 90s, because what Martin Luther King did and what Gandhi did was still fresh in the consciousness of our culture. But here we are, 2024, people don't even know what nonviolence means anymore. It's like defining something by something. It's just not a great term or a name anymore. And so we have to like refresh our wisdom practices. And that's what authentic relating has really done is it's it's taken the best tools. It's a large body of knowledge. I have an advanced course too, so it's actually 12 weeks of curriculum, but it's broken up into two. So it's a lot, and there's detailed handouts, that are easy to read summaries that you can use to apply these to your life and things like that that I've developed to give people the best chance to integrate these into their daily lives. Yeah.
Okay, Jason, well, sounds very compelling. I'm going to be a student in the course as well, and I look forward to it. I've been practicing authentic relating for 7 years, and I run my own groups, and the groups are often super fun and super developmental. And like Jason says, I have a lot to learn. So I look forward to learning from you, Jason.
Yeah, it'll be good to be with you.